What's up guys, and welcome back to the Greer music channel. So today I've been messing around with my trusty SP-303 and I thought I'd talk a little bit about my workflow and how I use external gear to polish up the sound of this. So I'm going to be running this guy through my SP-303 and then into my Elektron Digitone to kind of polish up the sound, sort of master it, so to speak. So thought folks might be interested in that, so if you are, stick around, let's get into it. Alright, so as I said, I've got my KO here, I've got my SP-303, and I've got my Elektron Digitone. Now, I'm going to use this as the source. I'm going to run audio out of this into the input of the SP-303, then I'm going to run that into the input of the Elektron Digitone, and then finally the outputs of that are going into my interface here. So I'm just going to use two patterns from this right now because I don't want to show the whole track until the end of this video, but I want to give you an idea of what I do a lot of times to flavor one of these up with external gear. Now, why, number one, would you use a tiny battery-powered sampler as your main creation tool and then run it through gear that costs many times more? And the answer is just because I can, really. I actually really love working with the KO. I just love the workflow. And no, it's not super high fidelity. It's not like pro gear, but it really does help me get creative ideas out quickly and easily. And I just love it. So yeah, I do this often just to kind of see what I can get away with. So I'll play a beat through here. It's going to go through this, and I'm going to use the vinyl sim. And mostly I'm not so concerned about the vinyl noise. It's more the compressor that's part of that effect that I want to use to kind of vibe this up. And then it's going to go into here, and we're going to talk about applying a little overdrive, reverb, some of these other things to kind of polish off the sound in the end. So let's start with the vinyl sim. Here's our basic beat. I'm going to turn that on. Add some flavor. Not really interested in adding noise. And then I'm going to set this compressor. And that's about it. I'm going to set it and forget it on that one. Some people get really wild with this vinyl sim because I do love the sound of it, but I'm also trying to be subtle. I'm not trying to be like, hey, check out my SP-303. I'm trying to say, just add some vibe to my beat. That's all I'm using it for. So I don't want it to be so obvious that it's just so thick on everything. All right, so we've got that set up. I'm going to just, like I said, set that, forget it. And then we can talk about what we can do with the Digitone here. So one thing, make sure your Digitone is set to the same BPM because I do plan to use a little bit of delay and I want the tempo to match. Then you're going to go into this mastering page function, and the LFO button will take you into the mastering page. You've got four options here. You've got chorus, delay, reverb, and overdrive. You can also set the stereo width, and that's not so important on its own because this is a mono signal, so setting the stereo width doesn't matter that much. But using it a little bit with the chorus, you'll see in a second here. So I'm going to start the beat, and I'm going to pan this out a little bit wide. And I always offset these just a little bit. I make one just a little bit wider than the other. And when you do that, you want to make sure your volumes, the one that's a little wider, you want it to be a little bit higher. Usually 1.5 to 2 degrees over here is enough to sort of balance those out. Yeah, I can see in my DAW that those are pretty balanced. Now, the next thing I usually do is touch the chorus next. So far we're just kind of talking about stereo depth. So let's check out some chorus and see what that does. Right there you can hear her start to widen it out. Now, it's not always the same setting. Different beats will have different character, but I don't usually ever go above like 65 on the chorus. Beyond that, it just starts to get really goofy. Let me show you. Again, subtle. I'm not trying to take over the entire project with effects. Just trying to enhance what I have. So we've got that going. I'm going to put a little reverb on here. Now, one thing, let me show you about the reverb. I use the filter cutoff to make the reverb ignore the low frequencies. I'm not trying to have reverb on bass or really anything but the higher frequency drums. So let me show you here. Go back to the mastering page, start the beat. It's pretty good. Little reverb in the background there, and let's see what the, sometimes I use delay, sometimes I don't. Let's see how it does. Just gonna let it ride real subtle. It's almost a little too much reverb too. I'm gonna turn that down just a bit. And then finally you have overdrive. Sometimes this will make your beat sound cool. Sometimes it kind of just makes it messier. But let's see what we got. Yeah, I'm liking that. That'll work. Okay, and I just do that. You know, I compose my track on here. I run it through some kind of compressor. It's not always this. Sometimes I use like just a hardware compressor or something like that. Something that has less character, I suppose, something more transparent before going into here. This is more your time-based effects in stereo. This is your compression. Generally speaking, you want that in front of any time-based effects. But there's no real rules to this stuff. I mean, if you have it, you can experiment and find out something that works for you. But yeah, that should be it for now. I'm going to go ahead now and just kind of reposition the camera, dial in on this, and just play the whole track for you. I hope you stick around and listen to it. But if not, thank you again for watching. As always, like and subscribe. Ask me questions in the comments. I really do enjoy hearing from folks out there. And happy beat making, friends. Till later, this is Matty G signing off. Bye.
you.